right, and it's easy as that. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put the air hose to it. All right, so we are connected. I'm gonna go ahead and turn on my air to my line. Right now the valve over there is closed, so we won't get any air into the bags yet. I do hear a leak, but the leak is in my fitting, so we're good. All right, so I want to open this up slowly. Okay, air going in. There we go, we have liftoff. All right, I'm gonna lower the jacks down now, just to kind of let it drop down, the suspension. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna need 2 hands for that, so 1 second. All right, so my jacks are still under the frame, just in case. But right now, I don't know exactly how much air I can fill these up with, because we do, still going up, still going up. It should be about it. I mean, that does have a lot of air in it right now. So that right there is lifted up. Let me disconnect my airline. All right, and we officially have no leaks. So right there, we're lifted up. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell right now since the whole truck is up off the ground. But now I'm going to deflate it and see and pray that everything all clears and see how low we can get it to go. Slowly but surely. I'm afraid the axle is going to hit the notch, so we'll see. If that's the case, I might put some bump stops on it. Looking pretty low. Well, I think it's hitting the jack stands. Oh no, it's not. All right, so we're good, dude. We're literally like right on there. All right, so that is completely aired out, and that's how much room we still have on the axle to the frame. And we're clearing the links down here. Let me check the other side. Make sure we're not hitting. Nope, we're all good there. So this would be probably as much as it can go. It can air out without having to redo the notch again. And all right, so I don't know what happened there, but I already ran the air up and down, but we're good. So the jack stand, like I said, I moved it out of the way, and this is pretty much what it would be aired up. I don't know if that's a full extension. I don't want to overinflate the bags, but you can see the bags aren't like too twisted. They can handle way more than that. Some extreme angles on these bags. But now we'll air it out slowly, and you can see how far it drops, and it barely clear. You still have room from the axle to the monster notch, and the lower links do not hit the frame. So we'll go ahead and air it out. That is it. That's the airbags completely deflated. And you can see how much room we have, probably like a 1/4 inch clearance between the axle and the frame. The lower links, you still have about 1/2 inch of clearance right there. So this would probably be the most you can get from airing it out. The only thing I do have to check now is to make sure the drive shaft is going to clear this cross member, which it should. I think we should be all right from the way I'm looking at it, but it's going to be super close. So I kind of want to go ahead and try that out, because remember we did raise the cross member for the gas tank. So let me see if I can kind of guesstimate, but it does look like it's pretty close on hitting. Yeah, so right there is hitting the cross member, and oops. So I think aired out, we are going to have a little bit of a problem. Looks like the drive shaft is going to still hit the cross member for the fuel tank, and it's pretty close to the cab. I can try to bolt it up, but it's going to be pretty close. So I'm going to go ahead and try to bolt it up and see what that looks like, and make sure that's not going to have any problems. So I'm going to air it up, and then we'll air it back down again and see if that clears, and that'll be the last goal. All right, so after careful examination, I come to realize that I will have to get a new drive shaft made, because I fucked up big time. Not so much as the whole build, like nothing so far is like fucked up to the part where I'm gonna have to completely start over. But what had happened was the axle, I actually have it too far forward. So all my bracketry and everything are welded too far forward. I don't know, it looks fine. It looked fine to me. I don't remember if I took measurements before I took everything apart. I don't even remember when I welded it, how I did everything, because it's been so long that I did it. But anyways, the current problem that I'm having, and this is why it's a big part of why I'm charging so cheap, is because I am not perfect. I am still going to be making a lot of mistakes. Stuff isn't going to work how I intended to, and this was one of them. And I'm not afraid to admit my mistakes. So my mistake right now is I cannot get the axle, or the drive shaft, to go into the differential. It just needs to go forward just a little bit more, but I can't move it any farther forward because it is bottomed out right now in the transmission. So to correct that, I'm thinking I will have to remove one of the links so I can like rotate the differential back and put the drive shaft in. That is one mistake I have made. So if I would have welded everything, if I would have set it back ½ inch at the very least, I probably wouldn't have had this issue. So that's one mistake that I've made on this project so far, and looks like I am going to have to be buying a new drive shaft for Luis so he can be able to drive it, because he does plan to drive this back. So that is going to have to be the next thing on the to-do list, is to order a drive shaft, or possibly send this one to get shortened. So that is a real bummer. It sucks, but I mean, this is the price you pay for the learning process. You are going to make mistakes, and this is part of the reason why sometimes I take too long, is mistakes are made. But I will correct them, and I will make it up to Luis. I will get him a new, shorter drive shaft. So that is going to be it for this video, or for today at least, and we'll see what happens. I'll give you guys an update whenever we find out what we're going to do with that drive shaft. So, horsefly. I didn't even kill it. Alright guys, so we're back on another day on the single cab build. Today I'm actually going to be starting the repair on the back of the cab, as well as probably starting the conversion of the handle, flip it to the inside and cut out the piece to fill in that spot. Sharp Dog is out here with us today. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with this back here. Just give it a good sand down, tape off the glass so we don't scratch it. And we'll go ahead and start sanding it, getting ready to lay some filler on there. All right, we got the first layer laid on, and I'm just now waiting for it to set a little bit more so I can begin sanding it. And this will be the first coat. You'll probably need like maybe 2 or 3 coats, but it wouldn't be. It's not too bad of a thing. It's probably going to be more of a challenge doing the tailgate. So I'll come back to this whenever this is done, because it's pretty straightforward. First coat, you're going to send it 80, 120, 180. Same thing with the second coat. Same thing with whatever, how many coats you're going to do. And then the last coat, I'm going to do the metal glaze. And then that one I'll finish in 320, and then we'll prime over the 320. Same thing on tailgate. So we'll skip to the very end of this, and I'll show you the results once we are finished. All right, well, I just dropped off the wife at work. Kids are with me. I'm actually heading now to my work. I need to pick up some spray paint that my painter got for me to primer the single cab. And then I need to go to the hardware store, go into Tractor Supply to pick up some bolts so we can bolt in the cross member for the fuel tank. So that's going to be the plan for today. Pick those stuff up, and then we'll head to the house and start continuing on the single cab. So here we go. So this is where I work. Turn on the lights. Usually they're on, but last guy probably turned them off. Yeah, there we go. And a couple of cars we're working on. This is the one, my area. Fixing the Silverado, putting this Traverse back together. My radio stayed on. Turn it off. My paint that I need is in here, and this is what we're going to be using. Exalta 1K primer surfacer. So we're going to use that. That's all we need out of here. Go ahead and get out of here. Turn off the lights, and next we're going to the hardware store. All right, we got our hardware. There was a lot of people in there, so I didn't want to record. But we are getting Burger King. Sandwich.
Sandwich.
Shelly, sandwich. Hello. Sandwich. Peace. Peace and love. All right, so now we're back at the house. And I just went to the hardware store. I got my hardware for the cross member here for the fuel tank. That is bolted in place. We're all good there. And here is the primer that we're going to be using to primer the back of the cab and possibly the tailgate. This I'm going to leave till the very end. I'm going to assemble everything, cut the bed how I need to, and get this done before doing the tailgate, because I'd like to move this out of the way and put it outside, and that would give me a lot more room in the shop and the garage. So leaving this till the end. I was going to work on that, so instead I'm ready to tape this off. I already sanded it down with 320. I'm going to clean everything off with some wax and grease remover, get the area clean, tape the area off that I'm going to be priming, scuff a little bit more. I'll probably do that before I clean everything, but gonna clean everything off, tape off the area I'm gonna primer, use my plastic to cover the rest of the truck so we don't get primer on the coated links, and overspray all over the cab of the truck, and we will be ready to primer, lay down some 1K primer on this. This is automotive grade. This is not like the cheap, what's it? I don't think I have it here. The other stuff that I use, it's It was Duplicolor. It's an automotive refinish series, so it is. You can paint over it. I don't know if I have an extra can left over, but anyways, the one that I do have is Exalta, so that is an automotive grade primer. So this will be good to paint over. If you want to get this, they do make it in an aerosol. This is a good second alternative to that because, like I said, this is automotive refinishing primer that they do sell in a aerosol. So we're gonna do that. So we're gonna get started and get this prepped, cleaned, and covered up, and then we'll be ready to lay down some primer. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Here we have it all nicely taped up. The glass along the bottom is going to be a nice little hard line. There's no problem there. But on the edges right here, I did fold the tape over and kind of rolled it back. That way it gives us not like a really hard straight edge. I probably could have just gone all the way up to here to the edge, but that's going to be fine right there. Same thing on the other side, just taped it and then rolled it over. And just so I can get down into these areas, I kind of left the paper or the wrapping here loose in the center. That way it can dust in there. I just need to pull back in some of these areas where it's still kind of bare metal behind the plastic. But we are pretty much ready to start shooting some primer. Just wiped it as you saw, gave it one last wipe down. Gonna give it a few minutes to evaporate, and then we'll be ready to start shooting down some primer. All right, well, forgot to push record before I started spraying, but there's my first little light coat. Got one coat on there. Now I'm gonna give it a while and we'll be ready to shoot our second one. That line that you're seeing right there is just a shadow from the light. Watch. It's not a hard line in my primer. Almost there. Probably needs one more coat. All right, here we go. Probably needs the final coat now. I'm just gonna give that a few minutes to dry. And we'll pull the tape off, and I think next I'm gonna work on getting the brake calipers on, mount those, paint those up, touch those up, because they're gonna look bad on the differential after it's been painted. So that'll be next, trying to route the brake lines around the new link kit. So I'll be back whenever this dries, and we'll be pulling this paper off. Well, there we have it. Nice and primered, and you see how we don't have a really hard edge. This is like really fine. It fades out a little bit right there, not like right here or just like really hard on right there. So, but with this being on a corner is fine. On a flat panel, if you leave a really hard line, you might be able to see that through the paint even after you shoot your base and your sealer. So never want to leave a hard line there. So we're good to go there. I think now, like I said, I'm gonna clean up a little bit and pick up my mess, and then we'll be moving on to putting the brake calipers on, and we'll probably recover the rear end of the truck again, so I can paint just the caliper itself, so we don't shoot black paint all over the back end of this thing. So give me a few minutes and I'll clean up, and then I'll be right back. All right, well, I was gonna paint these on the truck, but I decided it'd be much easier and quicker if I just do it over here. So got them hanging right here, and when we come back, these will be nice and shiny black. So be right back. Okay, we got the paint over there drying on the calipers. I still haven't cleaned up, but let's see, what was I gonna do next? Was gonna try to go in there. I need to cut that one cross member on the cab. Oh, I remember now. I'm gonna cut the bolts that I keep forgetting to do for the shocks. So I'm gonna go ahead and mount his old shocks on there, and we'll get some of these shortened down. But like I said, these are gonna be just a little bit too long. These. If not, I might just go ahead and run to the hardware store right now and just get some shorter bolts, because hopefully there's going to be enough thread on here after I cut it in order for me to be able to bolt these on. So let me take these out, and then we'll see if I need to get new bolts or just cut these. So be back in a second. All right, well, I'm gonna cut it here. We got the shocks mounted, that's all tightened down, cleaned everything up. The brake calipers are back on. Painted the line as best as I could. Cleaned up the brake fluid. I'm gonna have to bleed the brakes before I finish putting everything back together. And that's pretty much it. I'm gonna call it a day today. I need to go get lunch for the kids. It's almost dinner time. Gotta get this guy outside. He's been in here in the garage all day with me, so he's probably tired of my noise. But last thing I think we gotta do next, probably tomorrow, if not Tuesday, we're gonna have to do the cutting of the cross member on the cab and possibly on the cross member for the fuel tank. So that'll be it for another day. So that's gonna be it for today. We'll come back at it tomorrow, or I mean Tuesday, and then we'll also need to cut that bed. So almost there. We're almost finished with this thing. All right, so back on this again on another day. Right now I have the garage closed because we're about to make some noise. I already started my initial cuts with air saw that I brought from work. So this helped a lot. Got this cut, and what I'm working on now is cutting the main cross member on the cab. As you can see, I kind of drill it right now. Drill it and cut it right now, but I'm gonna take my cutoff wheel and cut a little bit farther on down, right in here, if you'll focus, right down there, because once that's cut, I'll have a nice little gap where I can close it, and then I'll be able to re-weld it back, and that will give me the clearance I need for the drive shaft. But because the drive shaft was in the way, I did have to take everything back apart up here, undo the upper link and the shocks so I can roll the differential back again and undo the drive shaft. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that cut and get it ready to weld. And then once that's done, I'm gonna be taking off the cross member for the fuel tank, notching that out so it clears the drive shaft as well. And then after all that's said and done, we will be ready to finally put the fuel tank back into the truck, set the wiring harness back on, and that will be pretty much it for the whole rear end as far as the frame and stuff. And then we'll be moving on to putting the bed back on, but we're gonna have to cut the bed to fit the notch. So I'm gonna get to cutting here and welding that up, and then I will show you guys the results once I am finished, because I can't fit my camera in there on the tripod and be working in this small little area at the same time. So I will see you guys here in a few seconds once that is done. All right, well, I got a little ahead of myself because my wife came out here and she was actually helping me put the truck back together. I did end up finishing cutting the cross member on the cab and the cross member for the fuel tank, which I will show you here in a second. Not the fuel tank, sorry, the cross member for the fuel tank. But my wife was out here and I kind of just kept working because we were talking and I was working, and then she started helping me with a little bit here and there. But as you can kind of see, we got the truck all finished, put together on the ground, and we can say this thing is really, really low. The backs are not fully deflated, and we are already sitting on the hitch. We do have quite a bit of lift. See if I can do this with one hand, but turn this regulator on and connect my hose here. Fill the bags up. Right there. And that's how much lift we got. It's not much. The reason being is because the wheels are so small, it can't fully air out all the way. But right there, the hitch is 4.5 inches. Sorry, not there. 4.5 inches from the pavement, and that's fully aired up. But luckily, everything else will be really good. Aired out, the fuel tank is 1/2 inch off the ground, maybe a little bit more. So we do have quite a bit of clearance. Now, let me see if I can go over here. All right, and then in the front, we have the front cross member cut and notched at an angle right there, using, again, the same piece of metal that's on the truck. See if I can zoom in. Those open areas right there on both sides, we don't have to worry about too much, because the moisture will, or whatever water and debris gets in there, will come out of the sides of the cab, because it doesn't like go inside of the cab itself. So it's kind of like a little drain almost. It'll drain out the other side or fall out the other side. So we are good there. If anything, I'll just seam seal it, add some seam sealer, and just seal that up a little bit. And then brother's home, so that's why it's so loud. Yeah, so overall, there we have it. It's pretty much done everything on the chassis. One thing I am going to do though, on the truck itself, I need to bleed the brakes, the rear brakes, because I did have the lines and the calipers disconnected. Just to make sure we don't have any air in the lines, I am going to bleed the brakes. So for now, everything on here is finally done, and we are good to go on this. Everything's fully tightened down with Loctite and all that good stuff. So now we can finally move on to the bed. We're going to cut out the notch or the hole for the notch on the bed, and then possibly cut the wheel wells if it doesn't clear. More than likely it's not going to, so we will have to cut into that. The only issue I see with this is I do believe this inside of it is plastic. So I don't know what kind of trouble that's going to give us, but that will be for tomorrow. Today is a Saturday, get off of work kind of early-ish. Got home at 11. It's now 4 o'clock, but today is our one day that we gotta do our house stuff, groceries and all that. So I will do the bed tomorrow morning,